Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
This hour, we're going to go back to the very first spin-off show. As you know, Fibber McGee and Molly had been around for a number of years, and they had a character by the name of Throckmorton P. Gildersleeve. Well, he would become the Great Gildersleeve in a very successful spin-off, and that was the Great Gildersleeve. This episode from January 14th, 1945, as Gildy tries to get out of a suit.
Kraft presents The Great Gildersleeve. The Kraft Cheese Company, makers of parquet margarine and a complete line of famous quality food products, presents Harold Peary as The Great Gildersleeve. Kraft brings you The Great Gildersleeve every week at this time, written by John Whedon and Sam Moore with music by Claude Swaiten. Now let's join the Great Gildersleeve, who still has a breach of promise suit dangling over his head. In addition, he's just sent off a check to the Department of Internal Revenue, so he's feeling doubly depressed. We find him now sitting glumly in his parlor, chewing a cigar as Bertie enters.
Lunch nearly ready, Bertie?
Yes, sir. I just thought I'd straighten up the living room a little.
Oh, well, don't pick up those comic books, Bertie. Just leave them on the floor.
They've been there all morning, Mr. Gildersleeve.
I know, Leroy skipped out early. But if we don't leave them for him to pick up, how is he ever going to learn?
I've been trying that system for quite a while now, but it don't seem to catch on.
Yeah, well, I'll speak to him when he comes in. Just leave everything as is.
The skates, too?
Skates, too. I don't understand that boy. He seems to have the instincts of a pig.
He's just a boy, Mr. Gildersleeve. You got to expect him to act like a pig for a few more years.
Yeah, that's probably one of his little friends, too. Tell him to go away, Bertie.
Yes, I'll get rid of him. Leroy and... Oh, excuse me, Judge.
Morning, Bertie. Mr. Gildersleeve in?
Yes, he is, Judge, but he's feeling kind of mean.
Well, I gotta see him anyway. Morning, Throckmorton.
Hello, Judge. Take off your coat. Have a chair.
Thank you.
Well, have you done anything?
Well, yes and no. I did a little reading up on breach of promise last night.
Oh, that's nice. Did you find out anything?
Well, I found one thing, but the...
Dirty guy! You dirty guy!
Leroy, what's the matter?
Oh, he's got a bloody nose. That's what's the matter.
He's a dirty guy!
You got a handkerchief, Judge?
You got one?
Come here, Leroy. Wipe your nose.
I'll kill that dirty guy!
Try not to dribble on the rug, my boy.
Okay.
Now, I've told you not to get into fights, young man. Who beat you up?
Nobody. It was a try.
What were you fighting about?
About you.
About me?
Yeah, I was sticking up for you.
Well, I appreciate your loyalty, my boy, but I can fight my own battles.
You weren't there. I had to do it.
Huh? Explain yourself, please. Who were you fighting with?
Whitey White.
The dentist boy.
Oh, yes. What was the exact cause of the quarrel?
He said you were an old chicken chaser.
Oh, he did, eh? And how'd you like a punch in the nose, you old goat?
Sorry, Gildy. Proceed with the case.
Yes. Leroy, I deplore fighting, as you know. Still, in this instance, I think you had good grounds. I've never gone out of my way to seek the society of any woman. I have never been involved with any woman, and I don't intend to be.
What a character.
I don't care for that expression, either. Now, pick up your comic books and skates.
Okay.
And not now, I'm busy.
Okay. Can I have a sandwich?
No, spoil your lunch.
Okay. Here's your handkerchief, Unc.
You may keep it, Leroy. Better go upstairs and wash your face a little bit. Lunch will be ready soon.
Okay. Gosh, I don't see why I have to starve to death around here.
Yes.
Fine boy, Throckmorton. Why don't you let the little fella have a sandwich?
When I want advice on raising the little fellow from you, I'll ask for it, Judge, and pay for it. Let's stick to the law.
Well, now there's one thing, Gildy. I'm convinced that if we had any kind of a defense, Del Rey's lawyer would drop the case in a minute.
Well, tell him we're going to fight. He'll drop it.
Oh, no. He'll think we're bluffing. He won't give up unless I can show him we have a case.
All right, dig up a case.
Well, I found one sort of a defense, only we can't use it.
Huh?
If you could prove that at the time you allegedly proposed marriage to Dolores Del Rey, you were engaged to another woman...
What do you mean?
Well, if you were pledged to another and Miss Del Rey knew it, she has no case.
By George. Horace, did I ever tell you that Eve Goodwin and I were engaged to be married?
Of course, you told everybody.
Did I ever tell you we'd broken off our engagement?
Well, no, but I understood.
Never mind what you understood. Eve Goodwin and I are engaged. We always have been, and we always will be.
Gildy, I don't like the sound of this. The law is a stern mistress, and
Now, don't go dragging ethics into this, Judge. The lady is a blackmailer, isn't she?
Well, yes, if your side of the story is true.
Don't you believe anything your client says?
Now, Throckmorton.
Well, if you do, you get that downtown and tell Del Rey's lawyer that you've got a defense, and you're going to fight.
But, Gildy, you'd have to be able to prove this. You'd have to have witnesses.
For the last time, Judge, I am engaged to Eve Goodwin. Just leave the rest to me.
All right, Gildy, I'll see what I can do. But let me ask just one thing. Does Eve know about this?
Don't worry about Eve. Have you children finished your lunch? I want to talk to you.
I'm all done. Marge didn't eat a thing. She's thinking about her boyfriend. She just wants to live on nothing but love.
That'll do, Leroy.
Love! Oh, shut up.
Marjorie, where are you going?
I don't care to sit here and be insulted by a drip. She wants to go someplace and let a drip make love to her.
Leroy. Marjorie, wait a minute. I want to talk to you both about something important.
Is it about being neat, picking up stuff?
No, but have you...
I'll do it right after lunch.
More tapioca, Mr. Gilsleeve?
No, thank you, Bertie. Bertie, perhaps you'd better stay and listen to what I have to say to the children.
Yes, sir. More tapioca, Leroy?
No, thanks. Shoot, Unc, I gotta get going. So do I.
All right. Now, as you all know, I'm engaged to marry Miss Goodwin.
What?
Oh, my goodness.
What did you say, Uncle Mort?
I simply made a reference to my fiancée.
Mr. Gilsleeve, you sure is a hard man to keep track of.
Let's not be silly about this. I told all of you last spring that I was engaged to Miss Eve Goodwin.
Yes, sir, but it seems we ain't seen much of her recently.
I thought she gave you the air.
Nothing of the kind, Leroy. She's very devoted to me, as I am to her.
Love!
Leroy!
Just kidding, Unc.
Yeah, well, cut it out. I want all of you to understand that I'm still engaged to Miss Goodwin, that I've been engaged to her all the time.
Well, I don't know how it happened, but I think it's wonderful, Unky. I hope you'll be very happy.
Huh?
When are you going to get married?
Oh, it's nothing like that. I mean, nothing immediate.
This is too deep for me, Mr. Gilsleeve.
Same here. Is you is or is you ain't engaged to Miss Goodwin?
I am. If anybody should ask you, Leroy, you tell them so.
I'll answer, Mr. Gilsleeve. Gilsleeve, President. Oh, yes, Judge, just a minute. Judge Hooker's on the phone.
Thank you, Bertie. Hello, Judge. Well, no, I haven't had a chance to see her yet. Well, I was going to do it just as soon... Oh, my goodness. You're right. I better do it before anybody else gets to her. Where's my hat?
Holy smoke, what's the rush?
Got to see my fiancée right away.
What for?
Got to tell her something. I mean, ask her something. Oh, pick up those skates, Leroy, before I get back here. Old wind isn't what it used to be.
Oh, Throckmorton, it's you.
Hello, Eve. Can I come in for a moment?
Oh, of course.
Thanks.
What is it, Throckmorton? Is something wrong?
No, I just dropped in to pass the time of day.
You seem in a dreadful hurry. Won't you take your coat off?
I think I'll just sit down a moment and get my breath back first.
Oh, yes, for goodness sake.
Nice day we're having.
Yes, it is. Lovely.
It was cloudy at first, but then cleared up.
Yes, it's so good to see the sun again.
It could still get cloudy again, but I don't think it will.
I hope not.
Eve?
Yes, Throckmorton?
Nothing.
Well, do take your overcoat off, Throckmorton. It might help you to breathe. Unbutton your collar, too, if you like.
No, I'm all right. I'll just sit here a minute. That new picture you got there over on the mantel?
Oh, no, that picture's been there all the time.
Thought maybe it was new. Looks purpler. Eve.
Yes?
Nothing.
Is something on your mind, Throckmorton?
No, really.
I can tell. Come on, what is it?
Honest, Eve, I just happened to be passing by, and I thought, well, I'll just drop in and see Eve a minute.
Well, I'm glad you did. But I have a parent-teachers meeting very shortly, so if you have anything to tell me...
Well, you won't get sore.
Throckmorton, you're such a child. This seems just like old times.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, those were the days. Hey, Eve, what do you say we get engaged again?
Are you serious?
Serious? This is a matter of life and death.
I thought it was sudden the first time, but this...
Somebody at the door.
Yes, a friend is calling for me. I've got to go.
No, wait, Eve.
But my meeting, Throckmorton...
Let her wait a second. Look, we could pretend our engagement has never been broken. We could pretend we've been engaged all the time. We just put off the wedding, that's all. Why not?
Well, I can think of several reasons, but one of them is that I have to go now.
Oh, darn the Parent-Teacher Association. Wait.
Throckmorton, please.
Eve, this is mighty important. You don't understand. We wouldn't have to get married or anything. We wouldn't even be engaged, really.
Well, what would be the point?
Yeah, well, I'll explain later. Will you do it? Will you, Eve? We'd only be pretending. How about it?
I'm sorry, Throckmorton. That would be living a lie. Come in.
Oh, nuts. Do you mind if I use your telephone then?
Not at all.
Evie, darling, come along. We'll have to hurry if we're going to get to Coots Mill before sundown.
Be right there, just as soon as I get my things on.
Oh, parent-teachers meeting, eh?
It happens that he's a parent and I'm a teacher.
Talk about living a lie. Hello, Judge. Gildersleeve. Hold everything, Judge. It didn't work.
Throckmorton, really?
Don't ask me what happened, Judge. I got mixed up with the Parent-Teachers Association.
Great Gildersleeve will be with us again in just a few seconds.
January 14th, 1945, The Great Gildersleeve on Classic Radio Theater. Classic Radio Theater family, you know our friend Michael Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by just creating the best pillow. He created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me because, you know, I'm working like 67 hours a day. Now, Mike's offering the best deal on his Giza Dreams bed sheets ever. You can get a set of Giza sheets for as low as $29.98. You'll never want to sleep on anything else once you slept on a set of Giza Dream sheets. A special offer for you right now. You can get a set of Giza sheets for as low as $29.98. Call 1-800-928-4715. Use the promo code Wyatt. Or go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Wyatt. It's good on anything on the website. That number again, 1-800-928-4715. Use my promo code Wyatt. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station. From January 14th, 1945, Harold Peary is the Great Gildersleeve.
Now let's get back to our friend Gildersleeve. His refusal by Eve Goodwin has left him only one course to pursue. Before pursuing it, however, he comes home to take in a little nourishment. Now, after supper, he calls in Leroy, Marjorie, and Bertie once more.
I didn't think I'd have to call another family conference so soon, children, Bertie. But, something has come up that makes it necessary. I thought I told you to clean up the living room, Leroy.
Those comic books? I'm reading them.
What about the skates? You been skating in here?
No, sir.
Well, kindly remove all this junk at once.
Yes, sir.
Not now. Wait till I've finished.
Yes, sir.
In discussing my fiancée this afternoon, I made one slight mistake. It's not Eve Goodwin I'm engaged to. It's Mrs. Ransom.
Oh, Unky. And he's the guy I got a bloody nose for. What's going on anyway, Unc?
There's nothing going on. Don't you remember that I was engaged to Mrs. Ransom some time ago?
But that was ages ago.
She's run through a whole husband since then.
It'll not be necessary to mention all the ins and outs of this affair, Bertie. Suffice it to say that Mrs. Ransom and I have been engaged for a long, long time. And we are now engaged.
But this afternoon you were positive you were engaged to Miss Goodwin.
Well, that was a slip of the tongue. If I said Eve Goodwin, I meant Leela Ransom, that's all. Ye gods, can't anybody make a mistake?
Uncle Mort, has this anything to do with all that lawsuit and everything, Miss Del Rey?
What makes you ask that, my dear?
I smell a rat, that's all.
So do I. Why don't you come clean, Unc, and then we'll play ball with you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, come on, Unky. We're not dopes. There's something fishy about this. You better tell us, or we might mess it up for you.
What it comes down to is this. If I was engaged to somebody else at the time I was supposed to have asked Miss Del Rey to marry me, she has no case.
Hey, pretty foxy.
Yeah, there's nothing foxy about it. It's a perfectly legitimate arrangement, Leroy. Naturally, I thought first of basing my case on my most recent fiancée, Miss Goodwin. But, some reason she refused to be a party to it.
Now, ain't that strange? I would have thought she'd snap at you, Mr. Gildersleeve.
She did. She almost bit my head off, Bertie. Anyway, I've decided to base my case on Mrs. Ransom.
Have you spoken to her yet, Unky?
No, but there won't be any trouble there.
You better be careful. What if she should turn you down?
Well, I thought I'd go over and see her this evening. Maybe I ought to take a few precautions, though.
Don't take her no precautions, Mr. Gildersleeve. Take her a present.
Yeah.
Bertie's right, Unky. Flowers or candy or something.
Oh, maybe some of the chocolates she used to like. Women are sentimental, I guess.
Oh, darling, I've missed you so.
Leroy, I think you've taken enough chances for today. Now shut up.
Yes, sir.
How about a ring, Uncle Mort?
A ring? Oh, yes, I mustn't forget the ring. I've still got it, too, upstairs with my cufflinks. Oh, and another thing. I wonder. Can't tell how women are going to react.
What is it?
Well, the first time I ever called on her, I wore my air raid helmet. Maybe if I wore it again, by George, I will. She's always remembered that. Bertie, where is my helmet? Do you know?
No, I don't, Mr. Gildersleeve.
I remember Marge grew some ivy in it once.
That was a long time ago. You were keeping guppies in it for a while.
Guppies? Leroy, that helmet is government property.
Well, if you weren't using it...
I might have needed it any moment. You find that helmet, Leroy, you'll need a helmet in a certain place.
It wouldn't fit there.
Get the helmet.
I think I know where it is, Unc. I'm sure I can find it.
Yes. Well, what do you think, Marjorie, with the ring and the candy and the helmet?
You'll do all right, Uncle Mort, if you'll be nice.
Oh, I'll be diplomatic.
You're the man that can do it.
Oh, thank you, Bertie.
Here's your helmet, Unc.
Yeah. Is it clean, Leroy?
Sure, it's clean. Gosh, guppies are just about the cleanest fish there is.
Hello, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Hi, Peavy.
What can I do for... My goodness, what's that you got there?
Oh, that's my air raid helmet.
I thought it looked like an air raid helmet. Expecting a little incident this evening?
No, I just happen to have it with me. Say,
Going to a drill of some kind, I presume.
No, I'm not going to any drill. Say, Peavy, have you got...
Loaning it to a friend, no doubt.
I just happen to have it with me.
It's a wise precaution. Probably won't happen, but then again, who can tell? Stitch in time saves 9.
What won't happen?
Or, as the pharmacist would put it, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Peavy, what are you talking about?
That's in the paper there, didn't you read it? They say we're likely to have these rocket bombs dropping in on us in a minute.
Oh, that.
As soon as Mrs. Peavy heard that, she decided we ought to move. And we asked ourselves where we'd go, so we're staying where we are.
Yeah, the only thing to do, I guess.
Well, we listened to Raymond Graham's swing that evening, and then we felt better. Do you listen to him, Mr. Gildersleeve?
Well, when I'm at home, I do, whenever I remember it.
Well, as a rule, Mrs. Peavy retires around 8:30, but I usually sit up for the final word from Mr. Swing. He had an interesting analysis there last night. Did you happen to hear him?
No, I didn't. I was out.
Well, he viewed some things with alarm, but on the other hand, he found some grounds for hope, too. Sensible man, Mr. Swing. He doesn't lose his head. What can I do for you, Mr. Gildersleeve?
Huh? No, confound it, you've talked so much, I've forgotten what I came in here for.
I'm sorry. I guess I'm a little wound up today.
Yes, I remember. Oh, yeah. You got any of those chocolates you used to have with a cherry in the center? You know, they came in a little box.
Oh, you mean the ones you used to buy for Mrs. Ransom?
Well, since you mention it, yes. They were her favorites.
The box had a red ribbon on it and a picture of some cherries and a robin redbreast.
Yeah, that's it.
And some little tin sugar tongs to pick the candies out with.
Yeah, that's it. Have you got any of those?
No, I haven't. I haven't had any of those in 2 years.
Yeah, well, what have you got?
Well, my selection of candies is a little limited just now. Hard to get chocolate, you know. We have these candy bars.
Is that all?
That's all. It's called a Doodad Junior. Sells for 5 cents. The Doodad Senior is larger. Sells for 10.
Yeah.
But I haven't got any of those.
Doodad Junior. What kind of candy is that to give a lady?
It's guaranteed harmless.
No, that's all you got. Give me a half a dozen of those.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Gildersleeve. I can only allow one to a customer.
What? One doodad?
I'm sorry. It's in the interest of national defense.
Yeah, all right. There you are.
Wrap it up?
No, I'll take it the way it is, in the interest of national defense. Goodbye, Peavy.
Goodbye, Mr. Gildersleeve. I hope she enjoys it.
It's one measly little peanut bar. Doodad. A man's got to be a regular Casanova to get anywhere these days.
Oh, Gildersleeve with another plot, don't you know? January 14th, 1945, Harold Peary is the great Gildersleeve. Harold Peary did himself out of this role, you know that. He signed a contract with CBS. Kraft decided not to move the Gildersleeve show over there. He did a one-season show there, and that was it. Harold Peary is the great Gildersleeve. January 14th, 1945. The conclusion follows these important messages from your favorite radio station. And you're listening to Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station. Now the conclusion of The Great Gildersleeve, starring Harold Peary, January 14th, 1945.
Uh-oh, gotta get my helmet on here. Guppies. Phew, smells like a low tide. Oh, well, anything for a joke. Either this chin strap has shrunk or I've expanded.
Gracious!
Warden Gildersleeve at your service. Like to inspect your sand buckets, ma'am.
Don't tell me there's an air raid.
Quick! Pull down your shades and turn out the lights.
Throckmorton.
Yeah. Don't worry, Leela. Just a little private alert.
Well, I don't think it's very nice you coming over here in your helmet and all, scanner girl.
Well, I thought you'd think it was cute.
Oh, silly, I'm only teasing. What's this all about?
Nothing. Hey, brought you something.
Oh?
There, for you.
For me? Why, Throckmorton, it's... Oh, it's peanuts.
Don't you like peanuts?
Down where I come from, they feed them to hogs.
Hogs, eh? Well, I tried to get chocolates.
Oh, that's all right. It isn't the gift anyway. It's the thought behind it.
Yeah, that's right. It's the thought behind it.
What was the thought behind it, Throckmorton?
Huh?
Never mind. Do take off your helmet before it strangles you and come in and sit down.
Oh, thanks. You know, Leela, I've been thinking.
Have you, Throckmorton?
Yeah, I've been thinking. You remember New Year's Eve when you were saying about how we used to be engaged and what fun we had and all that? Those were the days. Hey, Leela?
Did I say that?
Sure you did. You were talking about the first time you ever met me. It was during a blackout. I came over here with my air raid helmet and my flashlight, and you took a shine to me right off. Remember?
It's funny. New Year's Eve is just a blur to me now. There's only one thing I remember very distinctly.
Oh, what's that?
When that man handed you a summons for breach of promise.
Now, Leela, I don't want you to get the wrong idea about that. The whole thing was a mistake.
Yours or hers?
There was nothing in it, really. Nothing. It's all been settled. That is practically.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. I'd hate to think of a man I'd once been engaged to being mixed up in any nasty old lawsuit. I don't know what I'd say to people.
Leela?
Yes?
Nothing. Say, how would you like it if I was to sing for you, huh? Speak to me of love.
Oh, Throckmorton.
I'll sing and you play the piano.
Not right now. I'm really not in the mood.
Not in the mood?
No. Let's just sit here and talk, shall we?
Leela, what's happened?
I don't know, Throckmorton. It's just life, I guess. Or maybe I'm growing up or something. But I've been thinking, too.
You?
I know. You think I'm just a silly little thing without a thought in a pretty head. But you're wrong.
Oh, I never said that, Leela. Gosh, you have some wonderful thoughts.
No, that's not true either. But there's one thing I've decided. It's about life.
What's that?
I've decided that love isn't everything.
You know, it's funny you saying that, because I've just about decided the same thing.
Have you, Throckmorton?
You're darn right. Love can be a great big nuisance.
I read in a book once that lovers can never be true friends. Do you believe that, Throckmorton?
Oh, absolutely. Let's always be friends, Leela.
I've always been a friend of yours.
You mean that?
Of course I do.
Are you a friend of mine right now?
Of course I am.
Leela, would you do a friend a favor if he asked you?
You know I would.
Would you be engaged to me again?
Engaged? But you just said that...
Oh, don't worry. There won't be any love in it or anything like that. We wouldn't even get married or anything. Just be a friendly understanding.
Just a friendly understanding?
Yeah. I'd give you back your ring, and we'd just pretend that our engagement had never been broken. Simple?
Why, yes, but how long would this friendly understanding have to last?
Well, till this lawsuit blows over. Now, don't be offended.
You mean to tell me...
I didn't mean to tell you, but that's the way it is. Now, Leela, don't be offended, please.
I'm not offended.
You're not? Oh, will you do it then, as a favor to a friend?
I wouldn't be a very good friend if I refused, would I?
Well, Leela, you're true blue, by George. Yeah, some people do you a favor, and they tell you they have to go to a parent-teacher meeting. Now, don't go away. I got a ring right here in my pocket somewhere. The ring. There.
Other finger, Throckmorton.
Oh. Now, wait a minute. This doesn't mean anything, you know.
I understand.
And you don't mind?
Why should I? After all, it's just a friendly understanding.
Women are funny.
Just the same, I can't help thinking of the first time you put this ring on my finger. You were so darling then.
What do you mean I was darling then?
And after you put the ring on my finger, you kissed it. And then you kissed my hand, and then my arm, and then my shoulder. You were so impetuous in those days.
I still am.
Throckmorton, let go.
Oh, Leela, just a little kiss.
No.
Come on, just one. Hey, where are you going?
I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to leave now, Throckmorton.
Leela, don't get sore. Just a little kiss.
We had a friendly understanding, Throckmorton, but that was not part of it. Here's your overcoat.
Leela, if we're supposed to be engaged, we have to keep up appearances, you know.
You may kiss me in public, Throckmorton, but not in private.
What? Oh, no, Leela.
You've forgotten about our engagement. It means nothing, remember? Absolutely nothing.
That's the trouble with women. They're so literal-minded.
You forgot your hat.
Oh! Gee. Gosh, if anybody saw us now, they'd think we were married.
Monk?
We had a very satisfactory interview.
She went for it, huh?
We had a satisfactory interview.
I guess she kind of liked the idea, huh?
She threw me out of the house. Now go to bed.
What a character.
Good night, everybody. Yeah.
Music on this program was directed by Claude Sweet. This is Ken Carpenter speaking for the Kraft Cheese Company, makers of Parquet margarine and a complete line of famous quality food products, inviting you to listen again next week for the further adventures of the Great Gildersleeve.
January 14th, 1945, The Great Gildersleeve on Classic Radio Theater. Now on Classic Radio Theater, another episode of the soap opera Claudia. This was sponsored by Coca-Cola. It was originally broadcast January 14th, 1948.
I wonder what's keeping that wandering farmer you married.
He isn't a farmer yet, thank you.
He better be. He'll have to bring home a new chicken if he doesn't hurry.
He'll probably just bring home the other half of the ticket he almost got the last time he went driving.
Just because you're not along, I suppose every state trooper between here and Boston will be waiting to pounce on poor David.
He knows we're waiting, and he's probably in a great hurry. That's just when you get tickets.
Hurry? He's probably dawdling along, pretending he's driving a tractor.
Is driving a tractor very hard, Mama?
My experience with them is limited, but offhand, I think I prefer a Rolls Royce.
I think I'd prefer a Rolls Royce, too. And it wouldn't even have to be a Rolls Royce.
That's not very lucid, but it's perfectly clear.
David didn't say anything about tractors last night. Does every farm come with a tractor?
Well, some come with mules, I believe.
David didn't say anything about mules either.
He hadn't seen the farm last night.
But Roger told him all about it. And Roger didn't say anything about mules.
I don't think they'd be what Roger would notice.
All David knew about was architecture. Grand old doors and a floor that's 100 years old. Mama, what's so wonderful about an old floor?
Well, the beams are probably hewn by hand.
Oh, is that it? Why didn't somebody tell me that long ago? Well, what's so wonderful about beams that are hewn by hand?
Well, they'd have the adze marks on them.
Well, that's terrible. Can't they do anything about it?
Some people like them.
Some people like living on farms.
Like it or not, a lot of people do it.
Well, a lot of people live in cities. I don't see why we can't be two of them.
There are a great many advantages to living in the country, Claudia. It's a much better place to bring up children. You seem to be planning a lot of that.
I do see what's wrong with the city for bringing up children. I was brought up in the city.
Then there's a feeling of permanence, a pride of knowing where you belong, the dignity of owning the land you walk on, and the satisfaction of putting back into the earth more than you take out.
You're a fine one to talk. If it's so grand, why didn't you try it yourself?
I might have.
You mean you and Father...
We talked about it. Do you really think you know everything anyone ever talked about?
I would if they talked about it to me.
You're very lucky to have a husband who talks to you about anything at all. Some men would have just bought the farm and told their wives about it the day before they moved in.
David couldn't do that. He hasn't even seen the farm.
He has now.
I hope he had a good time. I hope he won't be terribly disappointed.
If he's disappointed in this one, I'm sure there'll be another.
Another?
I understand that most of the country around there is covered with farms.
Oh, I hope he won't be terribly upset if this one isn't what he thought it was going to be.
At least you'll know enough to be disappointed. You don't know how most men get about houses.
Nobody told me that either.
They think houses are something they were born knowing about, like pocket knives or how to whistle.
I can whistle, too.
I know, I taught you.
Thanks.
Most men buy a house, and then after they've carefully installed their family in it, they get the idea that they could have built it much better than it was built in the first place.
That must be a lot of fun.
They proceed to treat the house as though they hate it. They rip everything apart and try to start all over again from the beginning.
Oh, David wouldn't do that.
When it comes to houses, your husband isn't a man. He's an architect.
Besides, Mama, I don't think David really wants to move up to the country right now, any more than I do. He's just going to look.
He's taking an awfully long look.
That's a good sign, Mama. If he really liked it, he'd have hurried back to tell us all about it.
Well, you better hurry back and take a good look at that chicken of yours.
Oh, I practically forgot I had a chicken.
Fine farmer's wife you'd make. All right. All right. Well, if it isn't little boy Blue. How are the meadows and the corn?
Hello, Mother Hubbard. How's your cupboard?
The cupboard is bare, except for one dried-up old chicken.
A fine way to talk about your daughter.
David, is that you?
Farmer David.
I can't hear you.
I didn't say anything.
I'll be there in a minute. I'm just basting the chicken.
What are you basting it to?
I did hear that, but I'll ignore it.
Try and ignore this.
Oh, I can't. But maybe if you gave me another kiss, I could ignore that one.
No good. If you can't ignore the first time around, it doesn't count. Isn't that so, Mother?
I have turned my back, and I'm not listening.
I think Mother's getting very old-fashioned, don't you?
She'd like us to call each other by our last names.
She's an awful stick in the mud.
You're a stick in the mud. Did you fall in some bottomless Connecticut marsh? Do you know what time it is?
Is it 6 yet?
It is 7 yet?
Is dinner ready?
Are you?
Been ready for hours.
Oh, sure. You always eat in your overcoat.
They're getting fussier in this hotel every day. Next thing, they want me to wash my hands.
Mama, he looks disappointed to me.
If he isn't now, he will be when he sees that chicken.
Should I ask him what the house was like?
Whose husband is he?
I don't think I ought to.
Now that you've made me take off my coat, I don't feel like eating.
See, Mama, he is disappointed.
Can't we just sit around and talk for a while?
I wish Roger hadn't said how wonderful it was.
You're a fine wife, the two of you. Don't you even ask me how the house was?
Did you have a nice day?
It was a terrible day, as you could see for yourself looking out the window.
Well, maybe the house would look nicer on a nice day.
It would. No doubt about it.
Maybe you shouldn't make your mind up all at once. Maybe you should take another look.
I don't need another look.
Oh, now, is it fair to Roger to make up your mind just on one look?
He made up his mind on one look.
The sun was shining when he saw it.
I don't need the sun to make up my mind.
Well, that settles that. Don't sit down here, David. Our poor little chicken is waiting.
Oh, I feel like sitting down.
Oh, David, you mustn't be so disappointed. There are lots of other houses. Aren't there, Mama?
So I've been told.
Mother, you've been misinformed. There isn't any other house.
David, that is just silly. That doesn't sound like... You mean you like it?
Something of the sort.
I think I'll sit down, too.
Tell us about it, David.
It isn't just liking it, Claudia. It's something beyond that. It's a feeling I got when I saw it. Perhaps the same sort of feeling I had that day I took the cinder out of your eye. The feeling that this is the way things are going to be. Without any warning at all, suddenly I could see everything.
But, David, I was me, and this is only a house.
Tell us more about the house, David.
It's a pure salt box.
We don't have to go all the way to Connecticut to get a salt box. We can have one right here.
Well, they call them that because they resemble old-fashioned salt boxes.
Oh.
This house was built around 1760. Not all of it, of course, but the main part, the salt box.
I like the name, salt box. It's cute.
It isn't cute. It's the valid appellation for that particular type of architecture.
One side of the roof is longer than the other.
Why?
I don't know exactly why.
Sounds a little lopsided to me. I don't know that I think it's such a good idea.
It's been good enough for the last 190 years, practically.
Well, they are charming sometimes.
This house is, it's more than charming, Mother. You can look at it and feel very close to the people who built it. You can see how hard it was for them to build at all. We'd say they had nothing to build with, and yet they built more than just a shelter. It has a line, and grace, and dignity.
Does it have much land?
Land? Only about 80 acres.
80 acres? Well, that's an awful lot, isn't it? Or is it? How big is an acre?
There are 640 acres to the mile, the square mile, that is.
640? Is that a lot?
That's a lot. This is about 1/8 of that. It's about as big as 10 big city blocks.
10 blocks? David, that's tremendous.
It's a farm, Claudia, not a window box.
And what land? Not marshy bottomland, but a beautiful, beautiful slope with a hill and a grove of walnuts on the summit and grazing land on the slopes and 3 farm fields and a meadow that breaks off halfway down.
David, you walked all over it?
I didn't drive a tractor.
On a day like this? If we lived on a farm, you'd be getting your feet wet all the time.
I certainly would. There's a gravity spring and a brook.
Does the brook babble?
Today it was shouting.
Would you farm it, David?
But not for cash at first. We'd just put in a few garden crops. But, of course, we'd want a herd.
Cows?
What do you think, elephants?
Could we have elephants?
Well, not just as first. We could.
I like elephants. David, you're really serious, aren't you?
About everything except the elephants.
Tell us more about the house.
Well, Mother, in the main part of the house, the beams are all the original beams.
With adze marks.
I should say so.
Oh.
The 4 floor planks are the old planks. You know, they have that tawny color that they get as though they'd been polished for years, like an old shoe.
That doesn't sound so pretty.
Some of the planks are even pegged. They're not nailed.
They must be practically falling apart. Does it have any stairs?
Untouched. I think the stairs are the best part of the house.
David, are you going to have to do much to it?
Well, I've been working it out in my mind on the drive home. We won't have to do too much.
How much is that?
Well, now, we'll want to make an extra room out over the kitchen and back for a nursery eventually.
A nursery?
You might put our 6 sets of twins in a barn, but then how would you face the neighbors?
Seriously, David, isn't that going to be a big job?
Not so big. The important thing is the studding of the first floor, and it's strong enough to take it. I looked.
I know you look, but isn't there always something that you find out about too late?
Not if you're a good architect.
And, Mother, we do have to have a nursery.
Good girl. Then, of course, some of the barns aren't in such fine condition.
Barns?
Certainly, for the herd. I want to lay in a concrete floor.
A concrete floor. Isn't that a terrible job?
Mama, David knows what he is doing.
Thank you, Claudia. You see, I think we can lay it right in without disturbing the structures themselves. They're resting on a stone foundation.
But you can't be sure. Why not buy a barn that has a concrete floor?
Mama, David is an architect.
But he's beginning to sound just like a man.
Then there's some small things we'd want to do right away. After a while, we could tackle some of the others.
What sort of small things?
Oh, a few more windows in the annex and an extra bathroom, but we could wait for that, and we'd probably want to make a few changes in the heating system.
But if you have to do all that, why buy this house? Maybe you can find a house you won't have to do anything to.
If you saw the house, Mother, you'd have more answer than I can give you.
Besides, it isn't as though David were just anybody who doesn't know about houses.
Have you changed your mind about farming, Mrs. Norton? You've changed your tune.
What tune?
You mean, what, mine?
Mama means that a moment ago you didn't sound so enthusiastic, and now you sound as though you love the idea.
Do I?
It's just what I'd hoped, that you'd be as excited as I am. And I think we can move in by spring.
Move in?
That's what I said.
But, David, no. I didn't mean to sound as though I loved it at all. Leave here, I couldn't.
What?
Make up your mind.
Oh!
But darling, wait till you see the house. There's no hurry.
I wasn't thinking about the house. I just then remembered my chicken.
From January 14th, 1948, Claudia on Classic Radio Theater. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Visit our webpage, classicradio.stream, where you can stream our shows on demand, learn more about classic radio collecting, contact me directly, or you can learn where all of our social media are located, classicradio.stream. And as always, our programs are available anywhere podcasts are served, so if you miss a day, you do not have to miss a show. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for tuning in. Thank this station, support their advertisers, and tell your friends. The great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater on your favorite radio station.